I fell into the trap there. Commanders in the playoffs. I didn't believe a word I just said. Hopefully this time next year, the Commanders. As I was saying it, I'm like, no, I don't believe what I'm saying.
I know you don't, but the funny thing was you just immediately hammered her with the whole question if Ron Rivera knows that they're not in the playoffs.
I don't know if she appreciated that.
That's what I'm saying. And here we are right off the jump, and you're like, go into that. Julie's really, really cool.
She's outstanding.
She understood that they're kind of the, if you want to say, the butt of a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
You know.
She gets it. She understands.
Yeah.
Okay, just getting started here on the official pregame show of America's team, a Cowboy game day here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Cowboys and Commanders, FedEx Field, the site of today's matchup. Let's go around the NFL. Let's take a look at some games that have huge implications that are playing right now, and we'll take a look at this matchup, Cowboys and Commanders, coming up next right here on The Fan.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000.
just don't need it. Other teams desperately need it. And then the other ones are potentially like the Bears and the Texans fighting for that number 1 overall pick. Even though it doesn't feel like the Texans are really fighting for it today,
What are the Texans doing?
They're trying to get that victory, baby. Every game counts. Every dub matters.
Oh my gosh.
Doing it for Lovey. Right? Isn't that what they're hashtagging this week in Houston? Hashtag for Lovey?
Well,
trying to keep him alive.
Why don't you do it for the Lovey of the first pick?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Did you not learn anything from Jacksonville and the Jets several years ago? I mean, to me, the Jets had a chance to lose a game and get the number 1 pick, and they decided to win so everybody can feel good on Green Trash Bag Day on Monday?
Makes no sense.
Why?
Same with the Bengals and the Dolphins a few years ago, fighting for the number 1 spot. One team ends up with Joe Burrow, the other one ends up with the often injured Tua. That's the way that played out. Things might be a little bit different.
I get, you know what, if you're Nick Cesario, the GM at the Texans, you just needed to walk in there and say, listen, Lovey, if you win this game, you're not coming back for sure.
The worst thing you can do today, Lovey, is win the football game.
Yeah, if you want to even come back next year, you need to lose this football game today. And I'm sorry it's not in your DNA, but my God, your record since you've been in college and the pro, I think you're 29-65 right now.
That's right.
So you're kind of used to losing games. So you might want to find a way to lose this one too.
Stay true to yourself, Lovey, and take this L. While the Bears are doing what the Bears have done all season, which is lose in great fashion.
Yeah,
play hard, score a bunch of points, and then come up short in the end and find yourself now down 13-0 at home to Minnesota with a real shot to land the number 1 pick in the draft. And if you're the Bears at that point, do I want to keep Justin Fields? Do I want to trade him and draft a new quarterback here? Or do I trade down from the pick and allow a team that really wants one of these quarterbacks to come up? Either way, hugely advantageous to be that number 1 pick.
They need skill. I mean, they need wide receivers. They can surely use some offensive line. I think that quarterback they got's for real.
I think he's really, really good too.
I am not messing. I mean, you've learned now. That kid is tough. You know, he makes play. They just don't have enough skill on the outside, and they don't have enough skill on the offensive line. So to me, you could probably drop back a little bit. We talked about Quentin Johnston from TCU, guy with some size. There's some receivers in this draft, and there's some offensive tackles in this draft too. So yeah, if I'm the Bears, I kind of think maybe dropping down a little bit.
Get the number 1 overall pick, trade down, recoup a bunch of picks, and then draft Quentin Johnston, who's about to be a national champion for the Horned Frogs.
Yep, absolutely.
He might be the best receiver in the entire class.
Yeah.
How about this? You have a fitting close for J.J. Watt, who announced his retirement a few weeks back. The only stadium that J.J. Watt has not played in during his 12 seasons is Levi's Stadium in San Francisco.
That happens today.
That just so happens to be the site of Watt's final game today. It also was last week, because coming into last week, there were 2 stadiums he had never played in. One of them was Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah.
He played there last week. Check that off the old list there. And then today, the finale, it is Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. So they will be waving goodbye to J.J. Watt in Arizona, and he will have officially played in all 32 stadiums.
Yeah, with J.J. Watt, the announcement came so late in the year. And J.J. Watt, I
was surprised. You would think he'd be the kind of guy that wants to do the retirement tour, right?
Well,
he'd be the guy that would come out before week 1 so that everybody knows every game of the season. Oh, J.J., we're going to miss you. We love you so much.
Everybody's going to have tributes to him on the scoreboard and stuff like
exactly.
that. No, I mean, you would have thought that, when he was on Hard Knocks, you're like, that could be J.J. Watt. I think him and what he did with the city of Houston and raising all that money, millions of dollars, for the situation that they were dealing with the hurricane.
Yeah.
I think that kind of got him to the point of oh, okay, we're cool right now. We're good. I don't have to have all this notoriety. So yeah, I heck of a career.
Yeah,
for J.J. Watt.
No question about that. And I do apologize to a handful of texters that were not happy when I alluded to Julie Donaldson about them maybe making the playoffs next year and
the Texans,
acting as if I was hopeful for the Commanders in the playoffs. What did the Texans just do? Did they just score again?
Pick 6.
They did a pick 6. There you go, Texans. Go get that number 2 overall pick. You do that. You do that in a great way. Man, that is funny. And before we go to break and welcome in Tom Rinaldi, who will be on the broadcast with Fox today alongside Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, and Aaron Andrews. Looking forward to catching up with Tom Rinaldi. And don't forget our player profile with T.Y. Hilton coming up with Chris Arnold getting that done. So looking forward to that here in a few minutes. But Xavier Rhodes, what's the deal here? He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he's a former first-round pick. He's a long corner, but he's 32, 33 years old. 32. They bring him in yesterday.
Practice squad.
What's the plan here? Do you think he might get some snaps like in a playoff game?
Well, we'll see. They've got a list of guys. Will McClay and Stephen Jones like to protect themselves. They're kind of a little bit iffy right now at cornerback spot to see what, with Nashawn Wright and what happens there with Kelvin Joseph. So they've got some veteran guys that they could bring in now or at least use. I think the thing with, what's interesting about this particular player is that he does have, you mentioned, he's got the length, he's got the toughness that Dan Quinn kind of likes for his corner. The problem is, though he lacks speed. He's often injured. And that's the thing that you kind of have to be alert of right now of that, he is a veteran guy. Coaches love players that have experience. Like the rookie guy, there's some teams that will play rookie guys and they're totally cool about that. And then there are other teams that are terrified of putting a rookie out there or putting a young player that doesn't have the experience out there and trying to get him to make plays, especially when you're going into the playoffs.
And he's got some familiarity with George Edwards, right? Yeah. On the defensive staff of the Dolphins, or excuse me, of the
Vikings.
Of the Vikings. Yeah. And so there's some familiarity there. And you've seen the George Edwards impact. Here's Anthony Barr. Here's Mackenzie Alexander, right? I mean, just to name a few.
Well, and then, and also Curse was with him at Minnesota as well.
Man, and that one's worked out incredibly well. Okay, just getting started here on the official pregame show of America's Team, brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. Also brought to you by Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza, better lives. Papa John's, the official pizza of your Dallas Cowboys, continuing to get you set for Cowboys and Commanders. Let's catch up with Tom Rinaldi next right here on The Fan.
At the University of Texas at Arlington, students come first, and excellence always guides us. Here in the heart of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we offer an academically competitive environment, a culturally diverse campus with students from all over the world, and a variety of resources dedicated to help them.
today.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
You're turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Hello, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
All right, we're 2 hours, 25 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Great to have you in Week 18 of the National Football League. A bittersweet Sunday for many franchises around the country. Cowboys, of course, in the playoffs. That is a beautiful thing. Still got a lot to play for today, though, in regards to the seeding and what could happen. Can Philly find a way to lose to Davis Webb and the Giants? That would be outstanding. I love this quote from Cowboys All-Pro right guard Zach Martin talking about last year and losing in the playoffs to the 49ers. We got smacked in the mouth. I think this year we've got to put our head down. Opportunities with a team like this do not come around very often. We have to take advantage of our opportunities. That's why this week is such a big week for us. We've got to get some confidence and some mojo running into the playoffs. And I feel like that was not by happenstance that he used that word running into the playoffs, because I think that's going to be a point of emphasis today for them to get that rushing attack going again offensively, Broadus.
Yeah, he and Tyron Smith need to kind of tighten some things up over off that right side. You played some teams the last couple of weeks that weren't going to let you run the ball. Philadelphia wasn't going to let you run the ball, and the Titans surely weren't going to let you run the ball. And now you're going to play a team today. Yeah, no Jonathan Allen. I think that will be a little bit of a difficult situation. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how John Ridgeway plays. You know, John Ridgeway was a draft pick by the Cowboys that they moved on from to kind of get wide receivers active. And so now here's John Ridgeway with an opportunity to play against his old team, being old team.
He's a feisty kind of guy,
yeah,
too.
and that's and he's actually been playing pretty well for them. So the Cowboys, like I said, they need to figure out what's going on that right side. You know, I mean, figure it out of like the combo blocks, the scoop blocks, the reach blocks. It just doesn't look as clean. And, I never thought I would ever say this, but you miss Terrence Steele running the football over there. Mm-hmm. And just because him and Martin had a really good working relationship with, Martin knew, okay, when I hit, usually you try and hit aiming points. And Martin's probably not too comfortable right now with aiming points, knowing he's like, okay, is Tyron Smith going to be there? With Terrence Steele, he knew he was going to be there. Mm-hmm. So nothing against Tyron Smith. He's a Hall of Fame tackle.
But it's a reason why we talk about continuity on the offensive line so much.
Absolutely.
That's always been a thing.
Yep. Absolutely, you do.
And so even when you're dealing with future Hall of Famers, it can take a little while to kind of find your groove together there a little bit. And so hopefully, and that's why today is an important game, and why I for one, am happy and a bit thankful that this game has meaning for the Cowboys, because it allows them to not have to worry about, should we sit? Should we do these things? Should we rest? When there are legitimate things that they need to kind of iron out a little bit before next week.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big ones.
No, this is a great opportunity, especially with all those, with, I can say, no Jonathan Allen, but Montez Sweat, Payne, Chase Young. Chase Young is, if you want to really look, the Commanders have done a really nice job on defense, even without Chase Young all year. I mean, he's really only been playing now a couple of games, but he'll be a handful today to have to deal with. I'm going to be honest too. I have some worry about playing Jason Peters the whole game. 40-year-old Jason Peters, and I think he's only got so many snaps in him. At 40 years old, I know Jason Peters, another Hall of Famer, tough guy, everything you want in an offensive lineman. But how many snaps does that 40-year-old body have? And are you going to use a lot of them up today? And then you've got to figure out next week for the playoffs. Hopefully, you can find a way to get Biotish back. That in itself is going to be really, really tight. So, with him coming back, just from talking to people over there. So if Biotish doesn't come back next week, then that means you're going to go into the lineup or the game next week with basically the same lineup you're rolling with right now with that offensive line.
877-881-1053. It is the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by 7-Eleven. Scan your 7-Eleven app at purchase for your chance to win tickets and other exclusive Cowboys prizes through 7 Rewards. No purchase necessary. Ends January the 8th, 2023. Subject to rules at 7-ElevenCowboysSweeps.com. And when it comes to that offensive line, what are you more confident in today? Is it McGovern at center or Tyler Smith at left guard?
Well, I tell you what, Tyler Smith's going to need some. Tyler Smith's a strong guy. We've seen that all year. But we also see situations where he gets broken down during games, too. He gets buckled. He'll buckle people, but he'll also get buckled. And if you're dealing with Deron Payne, Ridgeway, guys like that with some power, that could be a little bit of a problem for him.
Well, one guy who's been an absolute godsend late in the season for the Dallas Cowboys offense, it is T.Y. Hilton. What a stud he has been. Mr. Third Down, I believe, is what they're calling him right now. And he is the subject of today's player profile. With Chris Arnold, here is T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton, Happy New Year, man.
Hey, how you doing? Happy New Year to you, too.
Hey, first of all, let's talk about you being a Dallas Cowboy. You've only been here a couple of games, but you've had an impact. Can you talk about how you've been feeling the last couple of weeks?
I feel great, just continue to learn this playbook, continue to get it down, continue to talk with Dak and understand, the spots he need me at and just helping the receivers as much as I can.
Now, you were out for like a year, so you're completely healthy now. It doesn't seem like you missed me. I know you don't feel 100%, or is it 99%? Tell me where you feel.
I feel great. I was feeling great towards the end of last season, and right now I feel great. So, I'm just blessed to be here and blessed that they gave me a chance to be great.
Now, I also know that they say some of the young receivers have been picking your brain. Is that true in the room there?
Oh, absolutely. And I told them, I'm an open book. If you have any questions, ask me. And closed mouth can't get fed. So they've been doing a great job of asking me questions.
You said when you got here, you weren't ready to come back to the NFL till you saw your kids play some football because you had never get a chance to see them. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wanted to, if I wasn't picked up by training camp, I wanted to just put football aside and be able to watch my kids play. I got an oldest in high school now. He played varsity as a freshman, as a sophomore. This year I got a chance to watch him, and he just balled out. So, and then I got a middle child, Ty, he's just amazing. So, me being able to watch him this year, I won't change that for nothing. I'm glad I had a chance to do it.
What positions do they play? Give us some props.
They play wide receiver, and then my middle one, he plays everything. He plays quarterback, running back, receiver, linebacker, safety. So, they doing a great job. But my oldest, he's coming to a grown man.
Seriously, everybody's so glad that you're here. Can you really quickly talk about how you wound up getting here? Did they call you? You call them? The agent reach out? How did it happen? Because it was like, wow, you fell into everybody's lap.
We had some teams call, but I just pushed them to the side and told them I wanted to wait till my kids finish, and then once they finish, the calls started coming in, and then I had a few teams, and then I was just praying, asking God, showing me sign which team should I go to, and then the Cowboys called, and then I was like, when Jerry called, you answer. So it was pretty special. They flew me out and then worked out, and that's all they needed to see. They cut me off halfway through and say, "That's it. Let's go sign this."
So this afternoon is the Washington Commanders. Anything special about this game? It's the last game of the season, but it could mean a lot. Y'all could wind up with first place in the East if certain things happen.
I know it's special because it's the next game, and we can't look past them. And this is their last game, so they're gonna come out and give us everything they got to go in the offseason with a win, especially against us. So we gotta come out fighting, and you gotta jump on them early and get them and let them know that we came here to play too.
And finally, you have any pregame road ritual that you do before the game? Any kind of music you listen to? You kind of sit up in a hotel for a while? I mean, what do you do that you say I gotta do before the game when you're on the road?
When I'm on the road at home, I always have to listen to my gospel music. Love God, everything He done. I won't be here without Him, so got to put on my gospel.
We got to meet you, hook you up with Kurt Franklin so you can meet him. He's down here.
he's one of the guys I listen to, so I love Kurt.
GP, are you with me?
Oh yeah, we got a church, ain't going nowhere.
That's it. Thanks, T.Y.
All right, thank you.
That was fantastic. T.Y. Hilton. That was very, very cool. One of the newest members of this Dallas Cowboys team. He's been a stud on the field. Sounds like a true legendary super stud off the field as well. Godly man, and he basically put his own playing career on the table for a little bit so that he could watch his sons dominate at the high school level. So that is very, very fun. And now he is doing big things for this Cowboys offense. And Broadus, I ask you, is he already now in this short amount of time, do we consider T.Y. Hilton wide receiver 2 on this team?
Well, I don't think he's wide receiver 2 yet, but where you're looking at him, and we've talked about this a bunch on our station on 105.3 The Fan, on the various shows, the various platforms we have. The Cowboys were clearly looking for something at a receiver. They were clearly looking for an Odell Beckham, an explosive type of a player. Where I, myself, just evaluating the team, I was looking for a guy on third down that I knew that I could throw the football to on those third down, fourth downs.
Ever since that Green Bay game, huh?
Yeah, that's where I was really honing in on this wide receiver. I go, give me the guy that I know I could drag it to, I could quick screen it to, third and 30. Just vertical routes, him, Turpin, boom, take off, here they go. And you make plays. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you need, that guy that can answer those plays for you. And T.Y. Hilton, he came in, my buddies around the league were all telling me, listen, it's probably a good thing that T.Y. Hilton hasn't played football all year because he's a soft tissue injury guy. Mm-hmm. So now you're in a situation where, okay, you're going to need him for just, hopefully for, 6 games. You're going to need him to 7 games. But he's that guy when it gets tough, it gets tight, you throw him the ball. Like he had a pass the other day on a drag. It's 3rd down and 5, and he gets like 10. You just throw it to him underneath. He makes a guy miss, and now he's up the field.
Savvy vet.
And
it seems like he's already got the trust of Dak Prescott. The chemistry is there.
He's a veteran guy. Yeah, just a veteran guy. And that's what you need. You need a veteran guy that knows how to read coverages, sit down when it's zone, and run like hell when it's man. And that's what T.Y. Hilton clearly understands.
877-881-1053, the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. What is on the menu? What is the tailgate? We will get to that here in a minute because I get the thumbs up sign that we have the legendary Tom Rinaldi now joining us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. He's on the call for Fox today. Tom, thank you so much for giving us some time. How are we doing today?
We're good. Always a pleasure to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hey, Tom, can we add Doha as one of your airports you now know like the back of your hand?
Okay, first of all, let's work on the pronunciation.
Doha.
Not Doha.
Doha.
It's Qatar, but Doha.
I've been to the airport myself. I've been to the airport myself. I've flown into Saudi Arabia, but yeah, Doha. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful airport. It is a gorgeous airport. It really is.
It is a remarkable airport. For those who won't know, this is a reference to having covered the World Cup and having had a bit of a whirlwind around the Thanksgiving week. Was in Doha for the opening of the World Cup, which exceeded every expectation, certainly for me, doing it for the first time, and then had the opportunity to come back, do the Thanksgiving game in Dallas, which is always just an incredible treat. Then do Michigan, Ohio State. I'm still stunned by the way that game unfolded. And then do Rams, Chiefs, and then fly back to Doha. So
more than
18 time, an incredible time.
More than 18,000 miles traveled, correct? Over 10 days, World Cup, NFL, college football, World Cup, NFL, college football. I mean, my gosh, Tom, that must have been insane.
And listen, I mean, how many people, you would do anything to have the opportunity to cover one of those games, one of those events? And to be in a position to be able to cover multiple ones is just phenomenal. So I'm incredibly grateful to Fox for giving me the opportunity. And yeah, it was a very, very special time.
Okay, I got to ask you one more question about all your travel here, Tom. Did you have like clothes in Columbus? And then or were you like dragging a bag everywhere you went?
No, that's actually, you could tell we're talking to veteran travelers here who would ask a question like that because that's very much inside the Beltway.
Yeah.
No, I only took a carry-on back because we were in Qatar for a month and I kept all the clothes there, kept the hotel room there. So all of that stayed in Doha and just took what I needed really just to carry on, which I shipped back. So when I went back to Doha, I'm probably the only person boarding a 14-and-a-half-hour flight from Dallas, by the way, via Kansas City, with just a backpack. So that helped. That helped a bit.
My gosh, that is outstanding. Tom Rinaldi with us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, getting you set for Cowboys and Commanders. What type of nuggets and storylines were you tracking down for this matchup this week, Tom?
Well, I think this is fascinating. Let's take it from the Washington sideline, which I'll be on first. Anytime I think a quarterback who's drafted, a rookie, has an opportunity to get his first ever start, there's just a great human dynamic there. It's the achievement of a dream for Sam Howell. Those are his exact words, the most important game of my life. And yet that has to be balanced with not making it bigger than it is, and understanding the message from Ron Rivera that you're not going to be judged solely on one game. And he shouldn't be, because he won't have the full complement of tools and assets offensively that he would have were the circumstance different. Sam Howell is a fascinating study, having covered him in college. He was a tremendous collegiate player, guys. I'm sure you remember his sophomore season, 550 and 7 touchdowns in a game against Wake Forest, 6 passing, 1 running, a really dynamic athlete. It'll be fascinating to see. Faces a gauntlet here, playing against obviously a motivated Dallas defense. On the Dallas side, I also think there's a fascinating dynamic. You have to be realistic. The score is going to be up of what's happening with Philly Giants. And Dallas is very motivated here, but how much does that change in terms of Coach McCarthy and who he keeps out there, who he pulls back, based on the numbers that you see pop up on a scoreboard? So I think in those respects, Week 18 often delivers such an interesting set of dynamics that could never be predicted. And I think that applies to this game too.
Tom, you do such a tremendous job of really diving in and digging in and get people to be really, really honest. Have you talked to anybody at the Commanders about the situation they're in right now with the team potentially being sold, the feelings? Has anybody expressed to you like this big unknown that they're about to go into?
Yes, and Ron Rivera, when you take a look at his tenure here, right? I mean, the first season, which was such a remarkable story. Yes, they don't have perhaps the best record, but what's the goal? The goal is to make it to the dance. They do that while Ron Rivera, let us not forget, is fighting cancer. That's his first season here, which is remarkable. And he was brought here as much as to be competitive, more so to lend stability to a franchise which desperately needed it. So now he's completed his 3rd season. Obviously, they've stumbled here in the finish. And now he enters yet again more instability with the likelihood that the franchise is going to be sold. At one point, I'm paraphrasing here, but Coach Rivera sort of suggested, boy, you'd love a situation which just wasn't so turbulent. And I also think, guys, that you probably can appreciate this from the Dallas perspective as well, that it's difficult when a current regime, when Mike McCarthy, when Dak Prescott is asked about a long-time drought of appearing in a conference title game, how long it's been since a franchise has won a Super Bowl. Well, none of that's transpired on McCarthy or Dak's watch. And yet somehow you inherit that because of the passion of the fan base. Mm-hmm. And I think that applies here to Washington as well.
It's Tom Rinaldi with us here on 105.3 The Fan, getting you set for Cowboys and Commanders. And I mean, coaching carousel stuff is going down. We're hearing about Sean Payton and Sean McVay even potentially leaving the sideline and going to maybe be a potential co-worker of yours, Tom. I mean, this is always kind of a wild time of year.
I think that just to highlight McVay here, guys, for a second, we were on a call with him midway through the season, and he said something so interesting to us regarding his wife. So Sean McVay's wife, for folks who don't know, is Ukrainian and has had family in Ukraine when the war broke out this year. And what she's been through, obviously, the fact that they're now married, what he's through via his in-laws and enduring the difficulty of that. And then you multiply that times all the pressures and stresses and hours that any head coach pours in, let alone one so young who's had so much success. And his desire to have some sort of balance in his life, I think it's fascinating to see what unfolds here with Sean McVay. Does he simply need to exhale and really reset and recharge? Or does he need to step away? And if so, guys, what does that say about somebody in his mid-30s who has climbed the pinnacle just a season ago, and who one season later, just due to the incredibly withering dynamic of being a head coach in the NFL, what he endures? And then by saying, what does that say about coaches like Mike McCarthy and Andy Reid who've endured for such a long period of time? How have they managed it? What does it cost them in their lives? It's fascinating. You know, we love the game, we love the sport, but sometimes we don't pay enough attention as to what it costs those who are pursuing their dream as well.
Tom, you're one of those guys that, like I said, you dive into people. Is that what when you see McVay, is it sympathy, or is it like, I'm just amazed of how these guys do this? How do you look at these NFL coaches and just sports people that you get to interact with every day that have these struggles?
Guys, that's such a good question, and you know this because of what you do and how long you've been doing it. When you're in the business for an extended period of time, you root for people. I know there's the notion that, and listen, I went to journalism school. I know the importance of quote-unquote objectivity, but there's a difference to me between objectivity, which is almost impossible, and fairness, which is mandated. And I think, what's the first basis of judgment that any of us has in dealing with those we cover? How were you treated? How did this person's humanity manifest with you? And for whatever reason, guys, I've just been lucky in my career to be able to see the humanity in a lot of athletes and coaches. I've told this story a couple of different times, just real quickly, about when I lost my father. I'm not on any social media outlets and never have been. And I had no idea how anyone would have found out that my father had passed away. And yet people reached out to me. People I cover reached out to me directly, including one who sent me a handwritten note about the loss of his father. And that was so astounding to me. Here I am, just a reporter. I'm just someone that that these men and these women have conversations with, and I try to share parts of their journeys with people who are so interested in knowing about them because of their pursuit of greatness, what they've achieved, fan passion, etc. But the humanity should never be forgotten. Obviously, we were reminded of that by Damar Hamlin this week, and the incredible outpouring for people who probably had never heard of Damar Hamlin before this week. Right, who didn't know about McKee's Rocks, who didn't know about Pitt, who didn't know about his journey, the modest $2,500 goal in the charity for toys for the mom's daycare, all of that. And now the humanity that's involved at the center of sport, which has such a tremendous power, guys, to bring us together. So much is so divided. Sport is the ultimate divisive institution. You win, I lose. What is more divisive than that? And yet it retains this magic and this power and this wonder to bring us together. And to be able to feel that, to be a part of that, is just an awesome privilege.
Yes, it absolutely is, and this is a real privilege getting to catch up with you. You call yourself just a reporter, but you, my friend, are a legend. It's Tom Rinaldi, ladies and gentlemen. And I know we got to get out of here, but your thoughts quickly on TCU, your college football background. Yeah. TCU doing something special here. We're loving it here in the DFW.
And listen, at what point, right, the famous line from LeBron after he won the title, put some respect on my name. At what point, guys, are people going to believe? I mean, at what point?
Tuesday morning.
Listen, perhaps. Because to me, I had a conversation with our son just recently, just saying, I think it's going to be a blowout. I said, if that's just more money in their bank because everyone has believed that every step of the way for the Horned Frogs.
That's right.
And boy, what can you say about their quarterback, about their head coach? What an amazing story. Just a tremendous, tremendous story, and great for the sport.
Sure is. Tom, thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the game today.
Guys, I always appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Absolutely, our pleasure. There he goes, Tom Rinaldi on the call today for Fox alongside Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, and Aaron Andrews, Cowboys and Commanders. We are 2 hours to a Cowboy kickoff. Let's go live to FedEx Field. We go inside the Star. Welcome in Bobby Belt next right here on The Fan.
Papa John's is the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. All Cowboy season long, you can order the Star Special, a large specialty or up to 3 topping pizza for $14.99. Use code Cowboys14.99 at papajohns.com. And there is nothing better than pairing your pizza with an ice-cold Pepsi. Add 2 20-ounce Pepsis for $3 more with code Pepsi3. Fuel your cheering with Papa John's and order the Star Special today. Go Cowboys. Not valid with other discounts, delivery fee, and taxes extra.
What a festival. I mean, the lineup is incredible.
KRLD.com. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
We are under 2 hours to a Cowboy kickoff here in Week 18 of the National Football League 2022 regular season. 4 quarters away from playoff time for these Dallas Cowboys. Might they be hosting a playoff game? We will find out. Please, Davis Webb and the Giants, do something fun for us here. Cowboys and Commanders. FedEx Field is where the game is going to be played, and Bobby Belt is there as we speak right now. Let's go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. One half of the #1 Odyssey NFL podcast, Love of the Star. Bobby Belt and Brian Broaddus. And Bobby, I imagine that's probably why the Washington Commanders gave you the best seat in the house in the press box today. They found out you are one half of the #1 Odyssey NFL podcast.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Look, I mean, it's a beautiful view of a steel pipe, basically, but it's good. I was able to shift one over to the right. And that seat was open, so I'll be taking that one. But it was funny because we were coming up, and Brian, I know you've been here tons of times before, but like when we're pulling up, I was like, I think people have talked too much trash about this. Like it's a nice looking stadium from the outside, and then I saw the interior of it, and I was like, it's not so bad here. What's everybody's? And then I saw my press box seat, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. Welcome to FedEx Field.
Bobby, which is worse, the steel girder in the middle of your view or the little box lunch that they gave you?
They have upped it there. In fact, there's a lot of positive talk today about some of the improvements.
Oh, did you go to Johnny Rockets? Johnny Rockets down the concourse?
They've got a carving station, Brian.
Get out of here.
They do. They've got a carving station. They had some good potatoes. I had some barbecue chicken.
All right.
It's they've upped their game a little bit.
All right.
You know, they're trying to spice things up before they sell.
Yeah, but Bobby's too bashful to approach the carving station at Jerry World. I know that. He's
I didn't go to the carving station here, Cheech.
I know you
I got
didn't.
the barbecue chicken. So
I know you didn't go to the carving station. That is good though. I'm glad that they're treating you well. I didn't know if it was just the general aroma where like everywhere you walk smells like the bathroom. Like if you just close your eyes in FedEx Field and you just have a handful of your senses to use, you think you're in the bathroom at all times. Do you not?
No, not at all, actually. I think we're far enough away from Jacksonville that I'm not dealing with that. And so, this, like I said, I think there's been a little bit too much hate here. Maybe because it's my first experience. Maybe there have been some upgrades or whatever else. But like I said, other than the big piece of steel obstructing my view, other than that, it's not so bad. I haven't had a problem with it yet.
All right, Bobby, give me the upgrades you need to make in this Dallas Cowboys team today. If you could fix something, what are you going to try and fix?
I don't know. Is it even necessarily that I need to fix it, or can I just have some confidence in knowing Deshaun Wright's going to be able to step up?
Give me some confidence.
I need Deshaun Wright to take hold of that job, and I need to know that spot's going to be okay. If you can tell me that spot's okay today and into the playoffs, I feel much better about the Cowboys' ability to go deep into the postseason. But that's the biggest area I think right now that you have some concern with is just how that other corner spot is going to play out, because teams have been able to take advantage of that all year, whether it's been Anthony Brown or when Kelvin Joseph had to step in, or when it's been Deshaun Wright at times. Now I think Deshaun Wright's been okay. He hasn't been a disaster yet, but I just like to see some stability at that spot. That's the thing that I'd probably most like to feel like more confident in as we head into the postseason.
Bobby Belt with us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. He is at FedEx Field. Cowboys and Commanders, brought to you by NFL Game Pass. With NFL Game Pass, you'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Are you excited to witness the 185 passing yards that Dak needs today to become the third youngest quarterback to 25,000 career passing yards?
I didn't know that was something that he was looking for. That's great. That's nice. But I sure hope it goes over 185 today. Hopefully we've got more like 185 by halftime, and this is a significant lead, and they're able to at least get maybe half a game off if they can take a big lead here. But that's an impressive number, especially when you consider the fact that he's missed some time during that stretch. I feel like he's starting to play better football as he's going along. I know we see him making some risky throws, some irrational confidence throws at times, but I think overall you can trust that Dak Prescott's going to put you in a position to succeed, and if you need him to throw you into games or to match somebody on the other sideline who's really pushing the ball downfield, I think you can feel confident that Dak has the ability to do that.
Are we at a place now where you feel like the Cowboys are going to have to do considerable winning in spite of their running game?
No, I don't think it's that drastic. I think the running game can still be successful. My biggest issue that we've talked about in recent weeks is just the times that maybe they choose to run, or some of the predictable moments where it's they're rather ineffectively running on first and second down. And I would like to see some of that get cleaned up. If you can repair some of the frustrating runs on first and second down, get yourself in some more favorable looks to do that, or just get rid of some of the predictability or whatever else, then I think the running game looks a lot better and has a lot more success. It's also, as Brian's pointed out recently, like you were going up against a team in Tennessee who that's the one thing they're not going to let you do. And so, I mean, if you just try and ram your head against the wall, that's the kind of results you're going to get. But if Dallas wants to run the ball in the postseason, I think they can do it effectively. It's just, they're going to have to be a little more creative with it, I think, than just, hey, let's line up here on 1st and 10 and then on 2nd and 8, and, all of a sudden we're in 3rd and 7 for the passing game. I just think that there's maybe a better way to soften things up.
Bobby's eyes are going to be on offensive line play. Is it going to be on Martin and Smith together, or are you going to watch Jason Peters today?
Ooh, good question. Probably on Martin and Smith, because I feel like you will get Tyler Biadasz back for the playoffs. I think that, while that's going to be a tight timeline for wild card, I think that just talking to some people, it sounds like he's making a lot of progress, and that it's just, in a much better spot than it was 10 days ago. And so I think that I'm feeling better about the chances of Biadasz being ready for wild card weekend. And so I think you should be able to return to your normal group at center and the left side of the line. So the right side is going to be of more interest to me, especially with, Tyron and Zach Martin still trying to find that chemistry, find that bond, if you will, there, and that cohesion. And also just Tyron on his own. I thought he played really well against Jacksonville. He's had some moments against, Philly and Tennessee that haven't been great. So just see if he can knock off some more of that rust, see how this 10-day layoff's done for everybody.
Going inside the star with Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, right here on 105.3 The Fan. It's a Cowboy game day. Cowboys versus Commanders coming up 3:25 right here on 105.3 The Fan.
Hey, Bobby, real quick, I know you got a big steel girder in the middle of your press box seat, but yeah. Have you found where out-of-town scores are in that stadium? I mean, do they have the out-of-town scoreboard there? So
right now, as I'm looking at it from Brad Sham's booth here, we have the ribbon panel just has a bunch of advertisements on it right now. So the 2 end zone scoreboards are currently showing red zone. And so they've got scores up there now, and you've got games that are on TV. But once the actual game gets underway, it's not clear where those might be posted. But I'm kind of looking around. Obviously, it's pregame, so they're running certain advertisements and things. But I would guess there may be a ribbon panel or something else on display. But I know at the very least I'll have the NFL game stats and information page up the entire time, kind of keeping track of what's happening there.
Bob, what's up with Xavier Rhodes here? They signed him yesterday, and he's a former Pro Bowler, first-round pick, corner, long, knows George Edwards very well on the defensive staff of these Cowboys. Do you expect to have them suited? Like, what do you think the plan is for him at some point?
I mean, he's here. He was on the plane, so he's not going to be available playing today, but he's at least here with the team and getting his feet wet, and I think that, you're not just adding a veteran like that, even if he's not quite the same player he used to be. I don't think you're just adding a veteran like that just because. I think they clearly are still trying to figure out contingencies and trying to figure out how they can best approach that. They've made several moves at this point. I mean, just count them off. Who all have we had? Mackenzie Alexander added, Trayvon Mullen, Xavier Rhodes here, and I feel like there was one other there that I'm blanking on right now. But they're clearly trying to find any sort of veteran that can come in here, contribute, and potentially have a positive impact here. And so I think that this is part of that. And so without getting a chance to see him yet or out at practice and have the coaching staff evaluate him, I don't know for sure that we'll see him yet or if he'll be involved in any plans. But at the very least, you can tell they want to see if he can be. And if he can be, he'll be out there.
It's Sheffield you were looking for.
Yeah, Kendall
Bobby.
Sheffield. That's
Kendall
the other one.
Sheffield,
Thank you,
yeah,
Brian.
the other one, yeah. To me, you flew with the team and all that, being around, and you don't have a whole hell of a lot of interaction with everybody. But are you getting the vibe that they're going in to try and win this thing today? I mean, or is it like, are they just waiting to see what happens as the Eagle game? Or are they going to play it that way? Has anybody walked up to you and said, hey, no, full on, we're going to go try and win this thing? Because I think until you understand what Philadelphia's doing, you got to play it to win. But anybody giving you any ideas what they might do?
I think that's the thing. I think they're coming in here saying we're coming in here to win this football game, and they're going to try and win this football game. Now, if things progress a certain way in some of these other games, maybe that changes their perspective. But I don't think they're going to cross that bridge until they potentially come to it. They're not even. It doesn't seem to me, at least, that they're allowing themselves to get into a headspace of, well, what if? I think they're just saying, nope, we'll look at that when we get to it. But right now, we're going to assume we need to win this football game, and we need to put ourselves in a position to potentially win the NFC East, and then potentially get the number 1 seed. That may be completely unlikely, just because you're asking a lot for Arizona to beat San Francisco and the Giants to beat the Eagles. But I think they feel like, look, we got to play this out until we get a sense of, hey, it's time to rest guys up. There's nothing else left to play here for. But that's why I would, if I were the Cowboys in this one, I would really try and push things aggressively, get up big by halftime, and then hopefully, regardless of what's happening in those other games, you can just kind of pull some guys back and give them rest, even if, the Eagles or the Giants are winning that game.
It's Bobby Butt with us here on The Fan. Is T.Y. Hilton now wide receiver 2?
It's a good question. Well, and even if he is wide receiver 2 today, I don't know that necessarily means he is come playoff game 1. But in terms of what we've seen in reliability and the things that he's able to do, he's been a better player these, first 2 weeks than Michael Gallup has. And so at least in terms of ability and what he's given you right now, I think he is. If they play the rotation like that, it's hard to say. This is a lot of times a 3-receiver league. And so being 2 or 3 is not necessarily much of a difference in the way the offense is executing the passing game. But, yeah, I think that if you're going to 2 receiver sets, I'd probably, at least right now, feel more comfortable if those 2 receivers are CeeDee Lamb and T.Y. Hilton.
What's the Bobby Belt prediction for this one?
I got Cowboys winning this one big because, like I say, I think that they're going to try and put this away early, hopefully get some rest regardless of what the other teams do. So I had Dallas running away with this one 38-10.
Beautiful. Bobby Belt, Cowboys Insider, live from FedEx Field. Enjoy the game, brother.
I love you all.
Love you more. There he goes. It is the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by the Salvation Army, Love Beyond, and it is the regular season finale for the 2022 NFL season. We are 4 quarters away from playoff time. What will that look like for the Cowboys? Where will they be headed, or who is coming to AT&T Stadium? We look forward to getting all the answers as the day of football unfolds, and it looks like we have a Jalen Hurts sighting walking into the stadium wearing a T-shirt that reads, "I'm back." So officially, unofficial return of Jalen Hurts today.
It might say, I hope I don't end up on my back.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
They got some issues at that right tackle spot. They really, really do. Until they figure out that whole thing with Lane Johnson. That's the thing. If I was an Eagles fan, I would be terrified today. And you're going to see a different Eagles offense, I believe. You're not going to see Jalen Hurts running with the football and all that. They can't medicate that SC joint like they can that AC joint. That they, when I mean medicate, you get what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
right?
shoot that bad boy up.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's something that, and I padding. I mean, how much padding do you put on a guy's shoulder to throw the ball?
Right.
I mean, is that something he's going to have to deal with the entire playoffs now? So anyway, it's hey, good luck with that. Maybe the Giants. The Eagles haven't been playing great the last several weeks. They just really haven't. They should have. They just. It's an interesting team. It's a very talented team, but let things start to go very bad. They got booed last week against New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
at that home game.
Those fans will boo on you real quick.
let them not put away this Giants team early, and those fans will let them know about it.
Well, let's go back to FedEx Field and welcome in Babe Laufenberg next right here on The Fan.
Get ready for some football. Embassy Suites by Hilton, Dallas.
UTA. Students first, excellence always.
About 90 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Commanders on a Cowboy game day. Let's go back to FedEx Field and welcome in Babe Laufenberg on this Cowboys Sunday. Babe, thanks for the time. How we feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thank you, gentlemen. And a great day for football. It's overcast. We'll see if we get any rain coming up, but the weather's perfect.
I love it. I love it. That's what I like to hear, Babe. Now, let's get these quarterback eyes. What are they telling you about the Sam Howell character? Because my guy Broadus thinks pretty highly of him.
Well, I'm with your guy Broadus. Matter of fact, I tweeted something out before the draft saying I thought for my money and the value that he would bring, he was the best quarterback in the draft. Yeah, that's just the way I saw it. We'll see. You know, the downfall is he's 6 feet and a half-inch tall, and very stout. Reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, and I think part of it is just the build. He's like 225, real stocky. I will tell you this, and you'll watch today, he's hard to knock off his feet. He is strong. So I'm excited to watch him today. Now, the downside is, you know, he's 4 months removed from playing meaningful football, right? Getting time in the preseason. And that's difficult to come in at the end of the year like this. And here you go, and they won't be playing with Antonio Gibson and a couple offensive linemen. And so it's always a difficult chore, I think, at the end of the season when you put in there, because why is he in there? Well, because the other two guys have failed. So, you know, you're not taking over an offense that's humming on all cylinders, right?
Right. That's for sure.
Babe, I do appreciate your eyes on that, too. It's not always good to agree with me on players. It might be a little bit. It might be something you might want to reconsider next time he asks you that question. But I do want to ask you this. I do want to ask you this about, because the one thing that they have with the Commanders is they have wide receivers. They have guys that can get open. They have a tight end that can get open. If you're going in, not if, Cowboys are going into the playoffs, and all of a sudden Sam Howell lights you up. You win the game, but Sam Howell lights you up. How is that going to make you feel going into the playoffs about the Cowboys secondary?
Well, I mean, it can happen. We all know it can happen. He can get hot.
Sure.
I mean, these are all NFL quarterbacks. You know that. There's going to be guys playing today. Giants are starting one of them.
Yeah.
They've been around, you know. Now, Sam Howell is a rookie. That's his biggest problem. And I always say at that position, and I don't care if you're a high school senior playing varsity football and being that starting quarterback for the first time, you get to college, and certainly when you get to the NFL, it happens fast. We all sit here, right? I'll sit here in my booth 200 feet in the air. You guys will be watching, or the fans will be watching maybe from their living room, and it looks easy from there. And then you get out there, and you're like, oh, my goodness. So that's what Sam Howell's going to be up against today. But I do think, too, Brian, in answer to your question.
Sure.
You know, they've had 16 games. I don't think anything is going to happen today, good or bad, where you say, well, either A, we solved that problem, or B, boy, look at this problem that just developed here in Week 18.
Sure.
I think we kind of know what they are, and I think, hey, the one Achilles heel for this team is going to be that corner spot. You know, Deron Bland has played well. They're trying to figure it out. You know, they're keep rotating. They're finding people. Kelvin Joseph doesn't look like he's going to see the field again this year. Nashawn Wright, you know, you got to look at his development. He's getting his first, you know, real taste of playing time over these last couple of weeks, and you hope, you know, his development comes a little bit today. But certainly, you know, everybody was concerned about the run, right?
Right.
Can Dallas stop the run? I think we're all now concerned about the pass. And when you get into the playoffs, you're not facing, no offense to all the guys that have been playing, the last 3 weeks, they have faced a backup quarterback, and for 2 weeks, including today, it'll be the third quarterback.
Right.
That ain't happening in the playoffs.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
When you look at this, though, as does the secondary concerns, or what we're seeing a little bit of that, due because the pass rush hasn't gotten home like it did the first 8 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And to that point, Brian, I'm going to go to Mike Vrabel. A couple weeks ago when J.J. Watt announced his retirement, Vrabel talked about the fact that they had a blitz going. Now, Vrabel at that time was in Houston.
Right.
And he said all the coaches, and you can appreciate this, as a coaching staff defensively, they had this blitz they wanted to run. They were trying to figure out what coverage can we play behind it. And he said, we went round and round the table trying to figure out the coverage to play with this particular blitz. So we spent hours on it. He said, we got in the game, and J.J. Watt comes in, sack, strip, fumble, so the coverage didn't even matter.
Yeah.
Because J.J. Watt just wrecked the play. And so to your point, yes, the way they were rushing the passer early on, there were people open. Quarterback just didn't have time to find them.
Yeah.
Didn't have time to get to them. And that hasn't been the case, over the last 3-4 weeks.
Babe, I'd like to hear your opinion on this. I feel like the Cowboys, the problem with the lack of pass rush is they haven't created negative plays on first or second down. And I mean negative plays when they've been pass rushing, or they say they get a stop, a 2-3 yard stop, but they've also haven't created and maybe it's because the officials too, they got holding calls early in the season that they're not getting now. So all of a sudden teams are in 2nd and 18 and things like that. And that pass rush is a little different when it's not, okay, ball trying to get out quick, but you're in a 5-step drop trying to get routes downfield to at least have a chance to get half that back. I just haven't seen the negative plays. And if these officials haven't called holding, for sure, I know in a lot of these games.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of – they played the last 5 games the Cowboys have played have been really low penalty games, right? And good for the Cowboys. Cowboys have averaged 5 penalties a game. You can pretty much lead the league if you get to the end of the year. The problem is, they're not getting those holding calls that they were getting previously, where now you got a team in 2nd and 20 or 3rd and 18, or like you said, hey, Washington leads the NFL on defense in 3rd down. They're the number 1 team at stopping teams on 3rd down. Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, they're 2 defensive tackles. Of course, they won't see Allen today, but they have 18 tackles for loss and 16 tackles for loss, respectively. DeMarcus Lawrence leads the Cowboys with 6. So you tie those in, you get those negative plays defensively on 1st and 2nd down, you're going to be a good 3rd down team, which, again, Washington has been number 1 in the NFL. So it does tie hand in hand. Penalties and those tackles for losses, they push a team back. Now you can turn the pass rush loose. And as they often say, rushing the passer is a privilege, meaning you stop the run on 1st and 2nd down. Now it's 3rd and 10, you get to pin your ears back.
And that's always a beautiful thing. It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on 105.3 The Fan. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Babe, where do you see this Washington franchise going from here?
Boy, they can only go up, right? I mean, it's just been disastrous. I mean, you don't have to follow football too closely to know how bad it's been. And in a way, we'll see what happens with Daniel Snyder and the ownership, and if he is forced to sell it, if he ends up selling it. But Ron Rivera is catching a little break because he's had 3 consecutive losing seasons. Now, that's why it's important to Washington, too. I know it's important to Ron Rivera. They're 7-8-1. They lose today. Obviously, they go to 7-9-1. That'd be 5 consecutive losing seasons for Ron Rivera. And here's a guy that has been a head coach in the NFL for 12 years. If they lose today, 9 of those 12 years, he would have finished the season with a losing record. Now, 3 straight losing years at most places, you're not going to have your job in the 4th year. But I feel like he is safe because of all the other stuff that's swirling around this franchise. Isn't it funny that the last thing they're worried about here is the head coach? Where in most cities, the first thing they're worried about is the head coach, if not the quarterback, right? They're worried about the quarterback here. That's until they get that solved. And let me ask you guys this. This is a team that had Kirk Cousins. And wherever you fall on Kirk Cousins, he's better than anything they put out there since he left.
I blame Bruce Allen.
Much better.
Bruce Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my guy. Bruce Allen. I'm going there with that.
So this will be, here's one for you. This will be the 5th consecutive year that Washington will have started at least 3 quarterbacks during the season. So that usually correlates pretty well to the win-loss record, doesn't it?
Babe, Which one do you think is sustainable? Third down offense for the Cowboys, the success they've had, or Cowboys defense creating turnovers?
I would say the third down success on offense. Those takeaways are always, as you know, I don't like the phrase they come in bunches.
Right.
They kind of do, but it's just sort of, I don't think you can go into any game defensively saying, we know we're going to take the ball away 3 times or 4 times. You finish a game, and sometimes it happens, and sometimes it doesn't. Whereas the third down, it's a byproduct of so many things. Your run game, your offensive line and pass protection, receivers making plays, quarterback being smart with the football and accurate with the football. And I think that is sustainable, what they've been doing on third down, because I like the people they have doing it. The takeaways, again, boy. Hey, here's a... Diggs had 11 interceptions last year, right? 11. He's got 3 this year.
Right.
And he's probably given up more touchdowns trying to get interceptions than he's had interceptions. So those things, they just don't duplicate themselves. Last year he had 11. You don't say, well, he'll get his 11 again this year. You're sitting here with 3. So, yeah, the takeaways, I just don't think you can ever count on those. You can count on playing good run defense. I think you can count on playing good pass defense if you're that type of team. But you can never count on taking the ball away.
It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on 105.3 The Fan, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Miller time. Babe, this rushing attack offensively, are you starting to get a little bit nervous about it, or do you feel like they're going to be in good shape come playoff time?
I wouldn't say nervous, but probably a level of concern. They haven't run the ball very well the last 3-4 weeks. Now, Tyron Smith, I think every game he works with Zach Martin on that right side, he's going to get better and better over there, more comfortable. They're going to get better as a tandem. They don't have you don't have that Y blocking tight end. I mean, Jake Ferguson's doing a nice job, but, the really good running teams have that, George Kittle, San Francisco. They have that tight end that can handle defensive ends. And Cowboys don't have that. So that's a little area of concern there. Tony Pollard, obviously they'll get him back today. And I really look for the Cowboys, and you can write this down here if you want to, Eric, but I think they're going to really try to run the ball here on Washington. I think they want to get that thing going, and I think they do want to feel good going in to that first playoff game, wherever that's played and whenever it's played. But I think they want to get that running attack going today.
Yeah, I would imagine that's one of the things on their to-do list as they get geared up and start fine-tuning things for playoff time, getting that rushing attack going. Of course, as you mentioned, getting Pollard back is going to be welcome to the offense. And finally here, Babe, as we start to creep into playoff time, are you more confident in this team, this particular incarnation of this Cowboys team, to do something special in the playoffs, maybe compared to some years past?
I think certainly to get out of the NFC, there's no team in the NFC, in my mind, that scares you to the point where you say, well, if they play fill in the blank, they will not beat that team. I think they can beat anybody. AFC is going to be a tough slog for all those teams over there, right?
For sure.
They got a bunch of good teams you're going to have to go through, but I give the Cowboys as good a chance as anyone. I really do. I think they can play with Philadelphia, who obviously everyone acknowledges is probably the best in the NFC. But I don't think there'll be any back down in that game. And do we have 30 seconds, guys?
Of course we do, absolutely.
I just want to tie a little bow around Sam Howell here, the quarterback that'll be starting for Washington. His first NFL start. Obviously, he's a rookie. You tell me if there's a better place to get kind of hardened, if you will, and go, wow, this quarterback thing can be a little difficult, than right here, because he's seen Tyler Heineke go through what he's gone through. Now, this is a guy that literally was sleeping on his sister's couch when he got a phone call from Washington a couple of years ago, out of football, Old Dominion, Power 5 school. Not even Power 5 schools didn't want him. He came out of Old Dominion. And then you got Carson Wentz. He's on his 3rd team in 3 years. We know the Carson Wentz story. So I think Sam Howell has a real eye-opener, because when you're in college, I think you sit there and you say, boy, can't wait till I get to the NFL and light it on fire. And you come here and you see what they've gone through and what those two quarterbacks have gone through. I think Sam Howell has his eyes wide open.
No question about that, and hopefully the Cowboys defense can tee off on them a little bit today. We appreciate it, Babe, as always. Enjoy the game.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg. Brought to you by 7-Eleven. Scan your 7-Eleven app at purchase for your chance to win tickets and other exclusive Cowboys prizes through 7 rewards. No purchase necessary. Ends January the 8th, 2023. That's today, by the way. Subject to rules at 7-ElevenCowboysSweeps.com. I believe we have another kickoff return for a touchdown.
101 yards.
My gosh.
He's had
Buffalo.
98 and 101 in this game.
The Patriots are making it tough on Buffalo to get out alive today and clinch officially that number 2 seed in the AFC. But the opening kickoff goes Buffalo to the house, and now middle of the third quarter with New England up 17-14, you had Nyheim Hines once again taking it to the house on a kickoff return. Now it's 21-17. Buffalo is in the lead.
Yeah, Buffalo did a great job, on defense. A sudden change, have a fumble, and basically right on their doorstep, and they're able to play 4-down defense and then get the field goal. The New England gets the field goal, and then the kickoff right afterwards going to the house. It's 2 huge plays that the New England special teams have made today to give them 14 points.
We're less than an hour and 20 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. We go back to FedEx Field. We welcome in Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. Coming up next, we get the scoop right here on The Fan.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together?
And by Gold Medal Pools, official pool service provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
1 hour and 11 minutes away to Cowboys and Commanders right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Great to have you in on a Cowboy game day. 877-881-1053. Cowboys rocking the blue tops and the silver pants today in Washington. And here to give us the scoop now as we go to FedEx Field is Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. Christy, happy game day. How we doing?
Happy game day, doing well. And yeah, the blue, I know that people think of the blue jerseys as bad luck, but every time the Cowboys come to FedEx Field, they make them wear blue, and it hasn't been bad luck here because it's just been so downtrodden recently for Washington. But I'm not too worried about the blue jersey jinx today.
Okay, that is very, very good news. Now that is aside, from an inactive standpoint today, Christy, do we have any surprises?
We do. We knew that Tyler Biotish, the starting center, wasn't going to play because of the ankle sprain, and we knew that they want to give Leighton Vander Esch another week. Hopefully both those guys will be ready for the playoffs next weekend, or maybe 2 weeks from now, if the Cowboys can get the number one. But a couple of surprises are Quentin Bohanna, the Cowboys defensive tackle, and then safety Israel Mukuamu. Now, Bohanna has been dealing with a little bit of a knee issue the previous several weeks, but he is inactive today, so that's more work for Carlos Watkins. And also, don't be surprised if you see Chauncey Golston, who mainly plays on defensive end but can move inside and play the interior. Look for Golston to be part of the rotation at defensive tackle today because Bohanna is inactive. As for Mukuamu, I'm told that it's not necessarily injury or illness related, but the Cowboys did elevate safety Tyler Coyle from the practice squad yesterday. They want to see Tyler Coyle get some work today, not just on special teams but on defense. So the Bohanna and the Mukuamu surprised me a little bit, but those are the reasons for having those two. The other three Cowboy inactives to round out the full list are the usual suspects: rookie safety Marquise Bell, wide receiver Jalen Tolbert, and quarterback Will Grier.
Christy, you always do a great job of telling us about guys that travel, especially when it's Diggs. They've got three talented receivers. Any chance we see Diggs travel with maybe a Terry McLaurin today? He hasn't played great against the Cowboys, and maybe a lot of it has to do with Diggs going with him.
Yeah, but today we're not going to see Trayvon travel with McLaurin, and maybe it does have to do, Brian, with what you say. There are more than one threat, some other guys emerging, and we know Curtis Samuel's a good receiver too, but not looking for Trayvon to travel today. And then as for Deron Bland, one player we are going to see who is active today, who had been inactive the previous several weeks, is Trayvon Mullen. They definitely want to see Trayvon get some work today. And so don't be surprised if when now Deron Bland is going to start. By the way, defensive captain today. What a nice tribute for the rookie who no one expected much of him coming into training camp. He really turned everyone's heads, and by the end of the season, he's one of the defensive game captains, so tribute to him. But anyway, when Deron moves inside in nickel situations to play in the slide, of course, we'll see Nashawn Wright, but don't be surprised if Mullen goes ahead and gets some work on the outside there. Again, if Mullen comes in place of Wright, it's part of a plan. It doesn't mean that it's a reflection on Wright's play today and or injury related.
Christy Scales with us here on the official Cowboy pregame show, brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys, getting you set for Cowboys and Commanders. Now, the Commanders rolling out the rookie Sam Howell at quarterback today, Christy, and I'm curious, what did the Cowboys think of Sam Howell coming into last year's draft?
Yeah, they liked him. They thought that him going in the 5th round, he lasted a little longer than a lot of them thought, and they pictured him as one of the real pro-ready guys of the quarterback prospects coming out in the draft. They thought that he was one that was among the most pro-ready and kind of saw him as the steady Eddie. And I know that when Coach McCarthy was asked about how early in the week when we first learned that Hal was going to start today for Washington, he referred to how productive he was at North Carolina and just how gritty he is. So I know that they liked him a lot. McCarthy also said that he's very instinctive and aware. And I know that they kind of compare him to Heineke a little bit, and I know that Babe Laufenberg a little earlier said that in Babe's own scouting, he compared him to Baker Mayfield, and when I threw that name out there, it was like, yeah, especially from a height standpoint, but that's a good comparable too.
Christy, one of the worst places I think to play an NFL game is a field that has a lot of paint on it, and these people at Washington love to paint their field. How is the condition of the field, and is it serviceable today, or do we need to worry about it throughout the day?
It's actually good. It is natural grass field. Latitude 36 Bermuda grass for all of our lawn care specialists out there, like Brian, who does his own lawn, I'm sure.
Love it.
No. But actually, I was talking with Brett Maher, the kicker, and he says he's actually holding up really well, especially for this time of year. The one thing that could be an issue a little bit later on is the wind has started to gust a little bit. And I don't know how to it's certainly more of a crosswind, but there was this scrap of plastic that came out of the stands and was on the field, and it started to go across the field in a slant and then more of a post route. I think it was running a sluggo, a slant and go.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
But let's just say that it's a little bit of swirling winds when they start to gust up.
Christy Scales with us here on 105.3 The Fan, brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, better lives. Papa John's, the official pizza of your Dallas Cowboys. Did the Cowboys have to dial up their own benches this time around like they did last year?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, remember what a big story that was last year?
Yes.
Because they did bring their own benches, but the company that provided them, that rented them to them, that had put the Cowboys logos. Okay, here's the thing. Yes, the Cowboys did rent some benches for this week, same company, but they did not put any of the Cowboys logos or colors on it. So people won't notice that the Cowboys had to bring their own benches, but they did. And luckily so, because it's a little nippy today. It's a little chilly. And so I can definitely report, not right now because I'm standing up, but I have been taking advantage of sitting on the benches and trying to warm up. But yes, they definitely have them fired up today.
That is fantastic. What is Christy Scales' biggest memory when it comes to Cowboys Washington and especially being on the road in Washington?
My very first regular season game on the sideline, not preseason, but regular season game, it was 1991, so that's back in the Chan Gailey era, but that was the Cowboys win in overtime in the season opener, regular season opener here, where Aikman hit Rocket Ismail.
Oh, that's 99.
In overtime on 99, yeah.
Yeah, 99.
In 99.
Yeah.
And so that was, and so what I remember is just the jubilation and Troy and Chan Gailey jumping up and down, and I won't call it hugging, kind of an uncomfortable man bro hug kind of thing.
Sure.
That's what I remember from that game. And since it was my first regular season game, I thought, oh my gosh, they're all going to be like this. They're not, but it was a really good way to start it off.
Heck yeah. All right, beautiful. Well, Christy, thank you so much for giving us some time, and we'll catch up with you next hour.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, always bringing the scoop. What are you looking at the TV, and you're shrugging, and you're upset?
I just can't believe the Texans are winning this football game right now. I mean, the Bears
Well, now they're starting to try and give it away. They're throwing interceptions, and Davis Mills is starting to say, you know what?
So we got a whole quarter left of this, huh?
A whole quarter left of two teams between the Colts and the Texans who shouldn't be trying to win, but it continues to feel like they are. And then Davis Mills is throwing interceptions, so maybe he caught wind from the front office.
Yeah, you think somebody came down and told him, hey, Davis, kind of play like you have for the last 12, 13 weeks kind of a thing?
Right. Hey, Davis, why don't you go ahead? If you want a job for life here as a backup, okay, let's just go ahead and lose this game. We're going to draft your replacement as the starter, but you'll be on this sideline for the next decade. Lose the football game,
There was
Davis.
a time, and it's not just the first overall pick, guys. It's the pick in the round, those top picks.
Right. It's every round you have the top pick.
Every round you have that top pick. And so, to me, I used to be, man, don't tell me about not winning. These games are – you know what? When you're trying to rebuild your team, then you need to figure out how's the best way of doing that. And if you're really good at drafting, by all means, just take the first overall pick and there you go.
Who are you more looking forward to returning to this Cowboys defense? Is it Van Der Esch for the playoffs or Hankins?
I think honestly it's both, because I think they're kind of tied together. And to be honest with you,
it should really help the run game for sure. And then Van Der Esch is the quarterback of the defense.
But it allows Van Der Esch. I'll tell you, it makes Damone Clark better. Because right now, I think Damone Clark's out there kind of looking around for Van Der Esch to help him with okay, Van Der Esch is able to see what the formation is and kind of be able to make some adjustments. And I'm not saying that Anthony Barr doesn't, but not to the level, I believe, of what you see from Van Der Esch. I think it's funny. I think that Hankins helps Van Der Esch because then people can't run up on Van Der Esch and get to him on the second level. He can move and be gone.
Right, yeah. Hankins
holds it up.
He eats double teams for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. So he's carrying the double teams or taking those away. And then you got Van Der Esch on the field is like telling Clark, hey, watch this, cut back run, scissors, he's talking to him.
And a rookie needs that.
And a rookie needs that. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for Clark to have that game like he used to play at LSU.
Yeah, you and me both as you're rocking your LSU Tiger hoodie here on a Cowboy game day, and it is on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. The pregame party rolls on as we are 60 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Cowboys and Commanders. Let's break down this matchup some more, and we'll keep the pregame party rolling next right here on The Fan.
When the Texas Chili Company began handcrafting their famous chili, Harry Truman was president. Gas was 20 cents, and no one locked their doors. A lot has changed since then, but one thing that remains the same is the old-fashioned, never-canned chili by the Texas Chili Company. Some things have changed since they opened their doors. They didn't. The Texas Chili Company. Chili so good, they named a state after it.
If you have been thinking about weight loss surgery, My Bariatric Solutions has made it easier for you to schedule.
Here's Eric Chiafalo and Brian Broaddus.
Under 60 minutes to kick off Week 18. Cowboys and Commanders, the finale of the 2022 regular season in the National Football League. We're 4 quarters away from playoff time, but there is a lot to be decided over the next few hours here. Brian Broaddus, it is the official pregame party of the Dallas Cowboys here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Brian Broaddus is a Super Bowl champion, and it's time to break this game down here, Broaddus. Brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and it looks like you're going to get the rookie Sam Howell coming out for Washington today. What can you expect here from a Washington offense with a rookie quarterback making his first start?
Be interesting to see how Scott Turner calls this game for the Commanders. I kind of feeling he'll go back and look at where's some of the things that the Cowboys have struggled with defensively. Will they attack, which would be the left corner for the Cowboys? Are they going to go after Nashawn Wright in this game? Are they going to run some combination routes, bunch formations, scatter, thinking that Dallas is going to play man coverage and then have to chase guys all over the field? Is it going to be, when you went back and watched them play earlier in the season, there was a lot of screens involved. There was a lot of getting the ball out quick. It was Carson Wentz. They were terrified of the pass rush. You can very well see some of the similar things. Dallas has struggled a little bit. We've talked about those screens that I just mentioned. Ball going to the back. Now, Brian Robinson not going to play. That's really going to hurt. We'll see what happens with Jonathan Williams and Jarrett Patterson, and see if they can get something going with those two guys. But they got a really good tight end in Logan Thomas. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some screen stuff to him to kind of get some things going that way. The wide receivers are exceptional in my book. Terry McLaurin, very underrated. Jahan Dotson is like everything that you ask for him coming out of Penn State. And Curtis Samuel is that guy, too, that can run the short little plays. They're going to try and get the ball out quick. But the one thing that Howell can do, he can make all the throws. And he's not going to be limited. And you watched him play at North Carolina. And I really do appreciate the fact that Babe Laufenberg said what he said as a former quarterback. The only thing that Howell really lacks is height. Everything else is pretty remarkable about him. He's played in some big games at North Carolina. He was a guy that was talked about as a potential first-round pick at one time. And then North Carolina's season went south. They didn't have the skilled players. They didn't have the offensive line. It was a team that basically was a 500 team, and he took a lot of the heat for that. But you watched him play. I did not see in that draft of last year a tougher quarterback when it came to standing in there and taking hits and delivering the football. The Cowboys have got to try and they're going to try and rattle this guy today. I don't think you can rattle this guy. Now, will he make maybe some rookie mistakes and stuff he was really good in the preseason. And he was one of those things where you're kind of like, man, maybe they got something here. Mm-hmm. I felt like that they stole him in the 5th round, and so I would not be surprised if he played very well today. If Dallas doesn't get a pass rush, and he has time to throw the football, Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, Samuel, and Logan Thomas can embarrass you catching the football.
Yeah, they got some skill players. There's no question about that. Let's go inside the numbers. Brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's, and today it is that Dallas enters Week 18 averaging 28.8 points per game. That's the second best in the NFL, behind only the Kansas City Chiefs. And since Dak returned from the thumb injury, they're averaging 35.1 points per game. They've been stellar offensively, clean up the turnovers, get the rushing attack going, and then to the promised land is where we are headed. It is the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's get you today's Coach's Corner. Brad Sham and Mike McCarthy coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue? 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
45 minutes to kickoff. Cowboys and Commanders. It is the official pregame show of America's team, and we go out to FedEx Field where Brad Sham, the voice of the Cowboys, is standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy for today's Coach's Corner. Take it away, Brad.
Fellas, thanks very much. We're with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, and this last game of the regular season is always a little squirrely, or it can be, especially in a situation like this. They're playing to play, and you're playing with some purpose. I'm wondering, in your years, what's the most unusual last game of the regular season situation you've had to navigate?
I mean, the biggest, the goofiest one was 2000 Y2K game, just because everything was around that, and we were in a three-way tie, and so and we're with two other teams, and then on top of that, we needed to win by a certain number of points, and then we had to go then watch the later game, and then the right team needed to win. So that's about as goofy as one that I've been through, where there was probably 3 or 4 components to it.
And I remember you talking about that a week or so ago, saying, I can't do that again. That's no good for anybody. And that said, it strains credulity to me that there won't be a little birdie somewhere keeping you, if it's only you, apprised of what Philadelphia is doing.
Oh, definitely. No, we have a plan. I mean, we're cognizant of everything going on. We just didn't want it to be part of our preparation or part of our mindset. So, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, a responsibility that you have to take into account of those things. So we'll be aware of what's going on.
Clearly, you're looking at defensive backs, particularly corners, with the signing of Rhodes, who's not playing today, but the elevation of Coyle. And so it's safe to say that's still, as you look forward into next week and beyond, that's still an area of concern for you?
Well, the biggest thing is I want to make sure I'm giving the defense as much of an opportunity to, we're still trying to evaluate. It's not only TC Coyle, but also Mullen. So these are two guys we wanted to see in live action. Obviously Xavier Rhodes is now another component to that because, we've had a number of injuries on defense. So this is really our last opportunity to try to lock down our defensive personnel groups, particularly, the depth chart in the secondary. So that's what that's all about today.
I say this a lot, but I'm convinced that you really know your team. What's your read on them in terms of their excitement level to play this game and keeping it in perspective with the fact that there's more and bigger around the corner?
Oh, I think this team is exceptional in the area of perspective because, it shows up in their discipline, their consistency. We've been a relatively very consistent football team as far as our productivity, from week 2 on. The numbers speak for themselves, and especially the last, 10 weeks. So, we understand the games that it didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but they're, against playoff teams. And so it's a team of high consistency. So, yeah, we're keeping things in perspective. We understand what today's about, and today's about getting to 13 wins, and we're motivated for that and what comes out of that. Because, just as we talked about on defense, we got some moving parts there, and this team has a lot of efficiency to their game too now. So now I know they're looking at some players also. So when you do have the little bit of the unknown and this and that, it usually makes for some excitement in the game where the ball usually bounces a different way, and that's the beauty of our game, and that's the competitive nature of the National Football League.
Have fun today. Thank you.
All right, Brad. You take care.
All right, fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. That is today's Coach's Corner, brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. And Lincoln, the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys. True luxury that transports you. To experience the power of sanctuary for yourself and see the full Lincoln lineup, head to your local Lincoln retailer or visit Lincoln.com. Broadus, the one thing you'd like to see this Cowboys team get cleaned up before playoff time next week is what?
I'd like to be able to see them kind of run the football with a little purpose today. Like to see, if it turns in, and I'm not, maybe a little bit more of a mix. I know some fans out there would like to see it not on first down or second down, but, I always talk about, hey, the ability to run when you need to pass and pass when you need to run. But with the Cowboys, I'd like to see it, not be a 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8 all day today. I'd like to see it if you find where their drives are going along and it's, it's about staying ahead of the chains and all that, I think that would be something I'd be really pleased of coming out of this one.
Yeah, getting the rushing attack going, because you're leaning on Dak in the passing game to bail you out quite a bit here as of late, with a lot of third and longs. And credit to him in the passing attack for being able to convert a lot of these. I mean, they've been so dominant on third down, and that's a huge credit to Dak and Kellen Moore and the offense in general. And I think bringing a guy in like T.Y. Hilton for those big third down occasions has come up big for you. But yeah, getting and Washington's not going to make it easy on you today. I mean, if you can run on Washington, that's a formidable front, even without Jonathan Allen.
No, when you talk about Sweat and Payne and Chase Young and John Ridgeway, who was a Cowboy draft pick, they're not going to let you run this football today. So you have to be, you're going to have to do your job up front and create lanes and create opportunities for them, for the Cowboys to be able to stay ahead of those chains like I was talking about.
Yeah, no question about that. And then the secondary, of course, want to see Nahshon Wright and these guys get it together, the pass rush. And then the third down defense, giving up probably too many explosives defensively, and thank God for the turnovers. So let's keep getting turnovers, and you should have a chance today versus Sam Howell to get some turnovers. So all that is there for the taking for the Cowboys today. Looking forward to this matchup, Cowboys and Commanders. It is the official pregame show of America's team, and the pregame party continues as we go back to FedEx Field, and we'll get the view from the owner's box with Cowboys owner Jerry Jones next right here. The Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour
Dallas Cowboys.
Now, here's Eric Chiafalo and Brian Broaddus.
Just over 30 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Commanders. Let's go to FedEx Field, where Christy Scales is standing by with Jerry Jones for today's view from the owner's box.
Yes, we are on the radio live, not with just Jerry Jones, but Jerry, it looks like about 68,000 of your best friends who are here today at the stadium.
I'm so proud of these guys. All I see is 21. Zeke, get your ass out of the stands and get on the football field.
Yeah,
this is a great bunch. A lot of Cowboy fans in Washington. We know that. You know, we have more memorabilia in Washington than any place, outside Texas, of course. So we got a lot of great fans up there.
To set the scene for the folks who are listening, we normally do the interview in the bench area at the 50-yard line, but we literally are just in front of the front row, down in the end zone, surrounded by Cowboy fans as Jerry has been signing autographs. Jerry, I have to ask you, we've been talking all pregame about what to expect in today's game when you're going against a Washington team that has a rookie quarterback making his NFL debut, and it just seems like...
I have a tremendous respect, we all do, for this coach. And he's going to give us everything that's possible for his men to do. And so I would point to that. And I would point to the fact that they're through. And so I'm sure they want to leave the ones that are out there the best taste in their mouth that they can. And the other thing is, as the famous Nate Newton said, this is Washington. We need to give them some capital punishment.
There you go. I love it. I want to ask if there's a particular player or position group for the Cowboys that you're particularly focusing in on today, that you want to see something specific and what that is going into the playoffs.
We're playing a young corner that we just got in, and we're getting a look at a couple of players in the secondary that will be interested in how they do. And then I'm anxious to see how Connor does at center and his backup at center. He'll get some snaps too. But really how we step in here and how 71, how we play in that offensive line, that ability to have some flex there as we go in the playoff could be a real strength.
Last question for you, and that is, we know that Dan Snyder is selling the Washington Commanders. I wonder if you have a timeline on when something may be happening, if it could be as early as this offseason, and more so, how does the sale of a division rival affect the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, first of all, I don't know. I have no knowledge of anything, and I just don't. And I haven't talked to anybody that does. And, of course, you know, we always have to remember what everybody's focus on is the franchise, not necessarily the owner in terms of league policy or what you want. Washington always has had and can have greatest ownership, and so candidly, I'm not worried about that. I think that'll find its own level, and we'll see as time goes along how the Washington team fares. With all of this support, nation's capital, this great market up here, it's one of the best franchises there is in the country.
There we go. Thank you, and thanks to all the Cowboy fans for helping us with the interview today. Give us the Cowboys on 3. 1, 2, 3. Cowboys! There we go. Thanks, guys. That's the view from the owner's box. And as we continue counting down to kickoff at FedEx Field, let's rejoin Eric and Brian.
Thank you very much, Christy Scales. And today's view from the owner's box is always brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
And now, Broaddus, we continue to get to know the enemy, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. You have McGovern now playing some center.
Yeah.
What are we thinking about that? What's our confidence meter there?
I like the way he played last week. My confidence meter is good for the center position. I'm interested to see what happens at left guard with Tyler Smith. You know, he's going to be up against some pretty heavyweight dudes inside there. I'm also interested to see with Jason Peters having to play and maybe having to play an entire game. We'll see what happens with Ball or substitutes or stuff like that. But this is I only think that Jason Peters has got so many snaps in that body at 40 years old, and hopefully you can get your offensive line back together next week in the playoffs. But, man, you got to get Jason Peters through this game, and it's been a little bit of a struggle for him when having to do that.
We're less than 30 minutes to kick off here on a Cowboy game day. Cowboys and Commanders, the regular season finale for the 2022 NFL season, and we are 4 quarters away from playoff time. Lots on the line, and to help us continue to break it down, let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Texas tailgating is serious business, and as an official partner of the Dallas Cowboys, nobody knows that better than Specs. Fuel up with a big league selection of ice-cold beers, hard-to-find spirits.
odds vary by number of eligible entries. Sponsored by 7-Eleven. See 711.com for official rules.
20 minutes to kickoff, Cowboys and Commanders right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. We go to FedEx Field and we go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, joining us now, brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. And Brad, other than getting out of here healthy and hopefully with a victory, what would you like to see from the Cowboys today?
Oh, I think that you would like. You don't know what to expect really from the Washington quarterback, but I do think that you would like to see solid play from the receivers against Washington's secondary, which is a little bit patchwork, and then to flip it around, I think that their biggest concern is having a look at auditioning is the word I'm looking for. All of these young defensive backs. That's why Coyle is activated off the practice squad to play in the slot, and Trayvon Mullen will get probably his first work as a Cowboy. They're trying to figure out which defensive backs they want to have playing against probably Tom Brady and the other quarterbacks they hope to face in the NFC playoffs.
Brad, if the Cowboys come out and run the ball with some success, is that something that's good for you? I mean, in a way of, like, this is a very good run defense. They don't want you to run the football. Is that something you would take into the playoffs and say, okay, wait, I feel a lot better about the Cowboys running the football?
No question, although, obviously they don't have Allen, who's one of the best players in the league. But, yes, absolutely. If the Cowboys, I think they acknowledge, Brian, what we all did, how good the Tennessee run defense was, and at the same time acknowledge that they want better results.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think both of those things can be true.
Thanks for the time, Brad. As always, enjoy the game.
Okay, boys, you too.
There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. And now we go back to FedEx Field and brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. We welcome in Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter, for her keys to the game. Christy, what's at the top of your mind?
Yeah, as you said, number one, getting through this game healthy. And the thing is, even though Washington doesn't have Jonathan Allen, he's inactive, as Brad mentioned, they still got some really good guys on that front four. And Mike McCarthy was saying all week how aggressive play caller Jack Del Rio, the Commanders' defensive coordinator, is. And the thing is, they usually get a lot of pressure without having to do a lot of blitzing because that front four is so good and so active. And it's not necessarily reflected in sacks, but they are top 5 in quarterback hits. And so when you've got an offensive line where you've got Connor McGovern starting in place of Tyler Biadasz, you want to make sure all the communication is very good, because this is a team that can put pressure on the quarterback, and you've got to get your quarterback through this game healthy.
Christy, I'm worried about Jason Peters playing an entire game. Any concern from people you've talked about on the sidelines of him maybe having to go the whole way today?
Brian, I did ask specifically about that, if he's on some kind of pitch count, or, hey, you want to get a big lead, get him out, even if it's the Cowboys don't get a big lead. And I'm told no. I mean, sure. I mean, yeah, you want to get a big lead and be able to rest some of your starters, but they're like, we really don't have a lot of people behind him, so that's the issue. And, of course, the Cowboys did they elevated Alex Taylor, number 69, offensive tackle. He'll be available today. And then, of course, at right tackle, your backup is Josh Ball, and he's local. He's got a lot of family here. He's from Alexandria, Virginia, about 30 minutes away. But, Jason Peters is going to play a lot, but it's mostly out of necessity.
Thanks, as always, for the time, Christy. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, right here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Kickoff is around the corner, so what does that mean? Brought us prediction time. Where are we going?
On all the platforms this week, I've said Dallas 27 and the Commanders 21. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. I'm interested to see how Sam Howell plays.
Yeah.
I know I've been talking about him all week. I kind of feel like that if Dallas has got to get pressure on him, he can sit there and throw the football well enough. And I think he's a smart, tough kid. So I think it's going to be a little bit closer game than maybe some people think.
Okay, I'm going 34-16. I still trust this Cowboys offense to, even if they can't run the ball, score points. That's what they've done week in, week out since the return of Dak Prescott. So scoring 34, I think, is very, very doable. And I'm with you. I think Sam Howell, with his mobility and his big arm, I think he'll be able to create some plays, but I also think he's going to run himself into some trouble at times, and hopefully the Cowboys defense can take advantage of that, sack him a little bit, hit him, and of course get some turnovers like they've been doing. So looking forward to a Cowboy game. As always, 34-16 is my prediction. Kickoff is around the corner. Brad and Babe, Christy got you the rest of the way. Broadus and Walchuk will have your halftime. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week?